there is something to be said about creating those types of businesses. And I think, and I'm interested to hear what you think about this. I think for a lot of business owners, it's hard to do that because that's not generally cash isn't the reason why they start their business.
This business podcast, the Two Business Guys Mastermind, uncovers for you secrets and share tips and tricks to entrepreneurship as they mastermind on how to have startup, operational, and overall business success so that you can go on to get better results. Enjoy. Rob, I think one of the biggest things that's happening right now, man, is people are forgetting that they need cash flow in their businesses. But I'm
Yes.
curious about something even more, and that is, how do you create a cash cow type business? Now, you know the
Mm-hmm.
concept of cash cow business. I want to
Mm-hmm.
explain that a
Mm-hmm.
little bit.
Yeah. So for me, this is when I think of cash cow business. There's a big word that basically discusses this, and it's a word called arbitrage. It's a word that I love to say because most people don't know it, but I learned it from our friend Alex Hormozy. I learned it before that, but he had the best explanation for it that I love. He was like, everybody does this, everybody knows how to do it. You do it all the time. Arbitrage is basically this. You buy something for one price, you sell it for another price.
Yes.
The space in the middle is arbitrage. Cash cow businesses are those businesses where you buy stuff for a very low price, you sell it for a very high price. Therefore, you have lots of margin in the middle. Uh, and I think that, there is something to be said about creating those types of businesses. And I think, and I'm interested to hear what you think about this. I think for a lot of business owners, it's hard to do that because that's not generally cash isn't the reason why they start their business.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a secondary concern.
Yeah. And I think if we start emphasizing, look, I need something that spoos off cash. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was
Mm-hmm.
Boston Consulting Group that had originally come up with this big old graph. This kind of business is cash cow, because it spoos off so much cash, but it might be, getting older. And then this corner over here is, I don't know, but it gives you,
Exactly.
because your cash cow business allows you the money to do the I don't know section. So
Yep.
what really kind of got my mind around this was I was listening to Michael J. Saylor, right? And he's the guy that's buying up all the Bitcoin for the most part.
Mm,
And he said, I mean, he had been in trouble with his own board because of this strategy. When Bitcoin went to nothing, they were like, dude, you're bankrupting the company. And just recently, he says something. He says, now, this is a part of our strategy. We're holding Bitcoin as a part of our treasury. And he says, but our software business is our cash cow business that
mm-hmm.
allows
Mm-hmm.
us to buy
Yep.
this other stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the
Basically
key.
buying Bitcoin as an asset, not as a business.
Right. So I think our time today, man, I think will help some people if we can say, hey, listen, we want you creating a business so that it can be a cash cow business. And that means
Mm-hmm.
you may have to go a little faster than you normally would. Now, Rob and I, we kind of
Mm-hmm.
disagree sometimes on this approach, but because things are changing so much in
Mm-hmm.
terms of AI and all the kind of things that are happening, the fact that you don't
Mm-hmm.
need a whole bunch of employees now, we can get some agents
Mm-hmm.
that is like,
Right.
depending on when you're listening to this, are either right here in front of us or running a lot of our deals. Then
Exactly.
having a cash cow business would allow us to go and experiment,
Yeah.
explore, try stuff that you're
Yeah.
thinking it might not work.
Yeah. No, and we are totally in agreement on that fact. I think the difference, and that's the part that I was talking about earlier. The place where we differ is what's the purpose of the business. But I think, and now I will say, like, if you're out there and you're listening to this and you're just starting a business or you're just thinking about going into business, you're debating, do I go, do I start my own business? Do I keep working for other people? All the rest of that. One of the things that I remember was a problem that I ran through, and this is, a lot of the conversations you and I used to have was for me, starting my business was about it was a mission. It was, I'm trying to help more people be the best that they can be. There was all this purpose behind it. And something that I realized now that I've been in business, in some way, shape, or form for over 20 years, but in my current iteration in business, over 7 years, the thing that I learned was I had the categories in my mind. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
understanding the game. So Simon Sinek has this book called The Infinite Game. And what he talks about is, some people are playing a finite game where there are winners and losers, and some people are playing an infinite game where the whole purpose of the game is to keep the game going. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And to give you an example of that, right, if you're looking at, right, I'm a Chicago Bears fan. For those of you all that are not, I apologize. But in the game of football, at the end of each game, there's a winner, there's a loser. At the end of each
Mm-hmm.
season, there's a winner, there's a loser.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are a football owner and you're thinking about football from the perspective of, I want my team to be the winner all the time, we got to win at everything.
Mm-hmm.
What you miss is the fact that without a league, you don't make any money.
Mm-hmm.
Without a league, your team doesn't have anybody to play. Without a league, all of the things that you love about that game don't exist. And so it's imperative that you ensure that the league is able to continue. That's why
That's
they
good.
agree to salary caps. That's why they agree to
That's
certain
good.
rules about what you can do with your people. Even though it weakens my team's chances of winning, it doesn't allow me to create this huge dynasty. It creates parity in the game. It's the long play because what I know is if they stay in the game, then that means I have more chances of winning. If they get out of the game, I have reduced my chances of winning. And so when I first got into business, I used to think about business as a finite game. I thought about business as making sales, right? As making money. And there's, different types of businesses. You've got these arbitrage businesses where they're cash cows, and then you've got purpose driven businesses. And that's where people are, putting their blood, sweat, and tears and pouring their heart and souls out, and they're trying to make money, and they're not nonprofits because they're sustainable and all the rest of that. And what I didn't realize, and Randy, we talked about this a lot, um, with Cash Flow Quadrant from Robert Kiyosaki.
Mm-hmm.
The name of the game is to become an investor who holds assets so that your
That's
assets
right.
make money for you so that you can use your time to do good in the world.
I like that.
Business is a means to becoming an investor. Business is a game that you play so that you can get to becoming an investor. The mission that you have, even if you embed your mission into the businesses that you do, the mission that you have should not be constrained by the amount of money that you can make in your business doing that mission. Because oftentimes, whatever the mission is that we have, it's not a high arbitrage business. Otherwise, there'd be a whole bunch of people that was already filling that need. And I think that's the piece where this cash cow discussion, especially with the advent of AI, especially with the advent of everything that's going on, is so important because there's a whole bunch of people that I think got stuck like me trying to build a business that was a movement, a business that was a mission. And you spend a lot of time basically being just stuck a little bit above nonprofit. Like I have a successful business, but there are businesses and there are industries that I could be making 10 times what I'm making right now, doing the same amount of work. And I'm looking at those now. And as we look at these agents and as we look at these, AI tools and everything, I'm much more interested in putting time into those things for the very thing that you just articulated, Randy. Those cash cows spin off the cash that buys the time that does the
That's it.
mission.
That's everything. Everyone, when it's about buying time, using your cash to buy time, that could be the leveraging of, instead of how the traditional business has been built, it is going to be coming real soon, the leveraging of the things, right? What
Mm-hmm.
can help me now? That's not to suggest that it's not going to have human intervention, if you will, or human people running it, but it's just going to be that human people running it. Like I have a virtual assistant right now, and she has access to my tools. So
Mm-hmm.
now I have a VA that has my AI.
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided to start, to create a business around that,
Yep.
VAs with AI that can help
Yeah.
your business. So you're reducing out the kind of drag, if you will, the financial drag, especially from the beginning,
That part.
so that you can get that business to cash cow status. So it
Mm-hmm.
is spewing out cash with low overhead. You remember we talked about this in a little bit about this in another video, but I think it was the business Lemonade. I want to say it was Lemonade, which is an insurance company. It's not a lemonade
Yeah.
stand. And they started off with this kind of approach, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
the what could we do to use data? What could we
Mm-hmm.
do to use apps that then give us information in such a way that we don't have to have a lot of things powered by, right? Powered by the very things that drag down your finances, right? Now, I'm not saying people, I'm not saying it, right? So can we have a whole bunch of contractors that are working on the business, but at the same time control the parts that you know that need controlling? And this is a difficulty. So Rob, can we go into what would it look like? What does that mean? Let's kind of
Mm-hmm.
dig a couple of levels. Now,
Yeah.
everybody, we're going to dig as much as we possibly can, but just realize that we've got courses that we have that will allow you to go as deep as you want to. This is Rob and I
Mm-hmm.
coming in, doing some things, and then presenting it to you. We're going to release those
Yeah.
probably the first quarter of next year. But
Yeah.
this is going to get you levels deep.
So something that I was watching one of the comments that I want to make as we go into this. I was watching one of our favorite podcasts, My First Million podcast, right? And Dharmesh Shah was on there. And for those of
Mm-hmm.
y'all who don't know,
I
Dharmesh
saw
Shah
it.
is the co-founder of HubSpot,
Co-founder. Yeah.
right? Billionaire dude,
He's the
amazing.
CTO,
Yeah,
basically.
CTO. He has zero direct reports.
Yeah.
But one of the cool things that he talked about was he had two kind of epiphany moments when he was building his businesses, and I thought they were so powerful. One of them was one that I knew, and one of them was one I was like, I never
That's
knew how to
good.
put that to words. Right.
Yeah.
I never knew how to say it, but what you just said, yeah, that boy good. So when they were in there, the first one was right. If you are not directly related in an organization, in a business, if you
Mhm.
are not directly related to the thing that people buy or the process by which people buy it, aka sales, marketing, and then delivery, delivering whatever you're delivering,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
In your business. And so it's not that you're not delivering stuff to people in the business, but he was working in steel. So to give you an example, he was saying,
Mhm.
if you're not directly involved in the selling, the
Producing.
smelting, the producing of steel, then you're overhead. Doesn't matter
That's
what
right.
your job is, you're overhead,
Your overhead, your
right? He was
it's cog,
exactly, you're a cost
cost of
center,
goods
right?
sold.
Cost of good, right? And he was something that and something that he basically because he was a software developer at this time for US Steel, and
Mhm.
that was the moment where he realized, oh, in steel production, I'm an overhead cost. So what's the industry that I can go into where I am a cost of goods sold, or I am
A
necessary
product
for
of the
production,
income. Yeah.
right? I'm an income producing cost. And when he looked at that, he was like, software development, that's where I have to be. That's how we got to software development. Take that, extrapolate that out. Whatever it is that you do in your business, you have to know whether or not you are an income producing cost or you are an overhead cost.
I love that.
And you have to know that for the people that you're going to hire as well. That was the first thing that I want to kind of lay down as just groundwork here, because in order to have a cash cow business, you have to understand the difference between income producing costs and overhead costs. Otherwise, you will spend money on stuff and make your cash cow business not a cash cow business because you don't understand that distinction.
Correct.
The second thing that he said that I thought was amazing was, at the end of the day, your job as a business person is to learn how to multiply your time.
Mm.
And I was like, what do you mean? And so a couple minutes later, as I was listening, he explained. And what he said is basically this: I have 24 hours in a day. That's the most that I'll ever have. That's the most that anybody will ever have. However, As a business owner, if I do what I'm supposed to do as a business owner, I can multiply my time. If I pull another person in, I can get right for every person that I bring in that can work 8 hours, I can add three more people. That's 24 more hours. I've got another
Mhm.
full day of my life. Six people, that's 48 hours. And you continue to stack and stack and stack. And now you can have, right? His whole thing was as he continued as a business owner, he was stacking hours. He was not stacking cash because he knew that he could make a certain amount of money for the hour, whatever that hourly rate is. Again, and this is where the two come together. If you're an income producing cost, then you know what your cost is for the
Mhm.
hour and you know what your ROI or return on investment is for that hour. The
Mhm.
more of those hours you can stack together, the more money you can make. And they
Man,
don't have to be your hours.
that is so good. And it's also relative to thinking about the people that you're bringing in a little bit differently, or the things that you're bringing in a little bit differently, right? So you're bringing in time, that's that person. But you got to make sure that, of course, that person's time is not a drag on the
Mm-hmm.
business. And that's how you get it to
Mm-hmm.
cash cow status, right? So it's one
Exactly.
thing that when I'm going into a business, I was going into a business the other day, and it's where I do my sauna and all this kind of stuff, right? And I go into the business, and the front staff, it was two of them sitting there just doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that I was like, ah. So of course, and
Overhead.
I think I may have spoken about this in another one. I says, hey, who does your social media marketing? Now I'm asking this question, trying to put them up on a little game. It says, oh, I don't know, we use this, we use that, whatever. So I'm thinking to myself, how could an employee make themselves more valuable instead of overhead by literally going to the owner and saying, hey, when we have downtime, could I do your social media so and so? Right. And
Mm-hmm.
now we got all these cool tools that we can do. And he says, now, for every, body above what we have been doing historically, here's an opportunity for you to earn. Right. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what Dharmesh had talked about, how as he had that company and they were paying them anytime he went to him and says, hey, I'd like to do this because I noticed
Yep.
that we could be more efficient. They said, yeah. And he said he was making what, a couple hundred grand a year.
Yep.
But it got to the point where he said, he couldn't keep asking them to do something. The inflection point was, I I should probably be doing this for myself.
Exactly.
Because again, and this is, Rob, this is when I heard that, I was like, this is the reason why start your own thing. This is the reason why the two business guys get on here and mastermind on business related things, on
Mm-hmm.
things that can help your business, and on things that can help your startup, on things that can help you grow it, and all that stuff. Is because
Yep.
when you start it, you're as close to the value. And that's what Dharmesh said. You got to get as close to the value as possible. And he
Exactly.
discovered that the only way to do that is to start my own thing.
Now, here's the thing that I will say as a small caveat to that. There's a bunch of hidden gems in what Randy just talked about that I didn't realize before. And for those of you all, you've heard me talk about my background coming into business, but one of the big things was I came from the public sector into the private sector. So I was always creating value in the public sector with no idea of what the value was that I was creating, because in the public sector, it doesn't matter what the value actually is. It's never paying what the value actually is. The public sector is always paying less than what the value is. Right.
Yeah.
Unless you in, DOD stuff and then you're paying, $15,000 for a toilet seat. But I digress. The basic thing is when you are in that space, what Dharmesh had was he knew what they were already paying somebody else to do this work. And he said, we could do that for cheaper. And he wound up, and what he did is basically he wound up promising that he could do it internally,
Mhm.
hiring some of his family members who could do it for a much cheaper rate, but it was a great rate for them. And so he was hiring different people in his network. So
Mhm.
he was building a business inside somebody else's business. Key thing to pay attention to. He was getting a lot of skills that I've seen so many entrepreneurs skip and just go out and start on their own. He had already learned how to hire. He had already learned how to propose the deal. He had already learned how to do the value calculation of this is better than what you're doing, because there were so many of those things that were there. That's when he was like, I should just do this on my own. So many times, and I was that person. I was the one like, don't follow in my footsteps. I was the one who was like, I can do this better. Had no definition of what better was except for the performance. I just
What all
knew
it
that what I
takes.
did was better than what most other people did. I could not say that I could do it more valuably to the organization. And I had to
Uh-huh.
learn that trial and error, time and time and time again, figuring out what do people pay for this? How much? And there's so many times where I underbid and got paid so much less. Like I had to have mentors that were like, "That's how much you get paid." I never walk in for. And one of my mentors, when I was first starting, when he talked about what he walks in to a consulting arrangement on, it was 10 times what I was getting paid.
Yeah. Yeah.
That he wouldn't consider anything less than that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good.
Right.
And
And so
now
I
you've
think that
cash flow yourself, made yourself. You're the
exactly,
business. Can you make
exactly.
yourself the cash cow business?
Yes. And that's why when we teach in arbitrage in the beginning, right? Understanding what you can get it for versus what people are paying for it. That's the most important thing. I came in only knowing what I could get it for. I had no idea what people were paying for it.
Mm.
I had to learn it over time, trial and error. And what happens when you're trying to learn and trying to sell at the same time is that people are trying to pay as cheap as they can pay for it. That's the reality. They're not like, oh, you know what? We normally pay $20,000 for this. Here, so here, we're going to give you $20,000. That's not how it works. They go, how much are you going to charge?
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. And, you know, and so that's a conversation for people that are out there selling. That's a conversation also for people that work jobs, right? If you're working a job, there's nothing wrong with that. But within it, can you skill up in
Yes.
areas that is not necessarily what the job is requiring, but the fact is you're getting yourself the key, getting yourself as close to the value so that you become
Yes.
less of a cost, closest to the value so that you become less of a cost. Think about
Right.
that in all the businesses that you're creating so that you can, from the beginning, and this is something that Rob and we've talked about this before. It's like from the beginning, asking yourself instead of, oh, I know it's going to take 3 years before I make money. Those days are over. We should be thinking, how can I cash cow this thing right away? How can I make this so cash flowing right away?
Mm-hmm.
What do I need to do? What will it
Yeah.
take? Who will it take? What tool will it take? Right?
Even
How
that
many
thought,
will it take?
even that thought, right? A cash cow business is a business that doesn't accept that I have to spend money to make money,
That's good.
right? The cash cow business lives in the realm that says, right, temporally, you might have to spend money first, right? Even a cash machine, I have to put $1 in before I get 30 out, right? But the point is, how long do you have to spend money to make money? If you have to spend money twice to make money once, you don't have a cash cow.
See, that part. I literally wrote this down, everybody. And I want you all, if you've come this far, all right, you've come this far, then you're obviously interested in how to do those things. Rob and I are going to go deeper into some of our courses. Some of them are free, some of them are paid. Don't try to hire us right now because we're really too expensive. But if you need that part of it, we'll offer that as well. But in the meantime, subscribe, send this to somebody that may have a need to hear that particular thing. Comment, put some comments down there. You know, if we're full of canal water, you can say, you guys are full of canal water. And then we'll prove to you that we are not, sir. So all these kind of things. Subscribe to the channel. We want really to grow this channel because we wanted to get it out more. Typically, Rob and I have never asked that. We've just kind of come on, we mastermind because we enjoy the conversation we have. Now what we're doing is really looking at how can we grow this in a way, our channel in a way that we can reach more people, solve more problems
Mm-hmm.
with the kind of stuff that we are distilling out. We've got some special things coming. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but it's going to, I think, give you a chance to look at the stuff that we've talked about in a very particular way and then pull from it. We're going to show you all that stuff. But you have spoken to something that made me write this down, day one money, right? So this might be something that Rob and I will come out with as a little bit of a white paper or report or something like day one money. how to get to day one money. In other words, how to be a cash cow business right away
Mm-hmm.
versus this other stuff that we've been hearing about. That's where we might introduce you to some tools. We might introduce you to all the things that we've experienced in all of these seminars and webinars and YouTube channels and all that kind of stuff. We've done all that for you. So if that's something you're interested in, you want to jump in quickly, I'm gonna leave in the description field how you can email us first because we want people that'll put in the work. Email us first, say, hey guys, can y'all talk to me? Or I may even leave a calendar and then you can jump on that too. So right, what can we leave people with that helps them think about creating that cash cow business from the beginning? From the beginning, what will
Yeah.
be a
Yeah.
pre to
I
day
think the
one money?
biggest thing. So here's something you can take with you, right? And it's something I didn't think was possible. I heard people say it and I didn't believe it. So if you hear me saying you don't believe it, don't feel bad. I did the same thing. Sell it before you build it.
Ooh, he used to argue with me. I'm just telling. He used to argue with me, saying, "No, man, that's not how it goes, right? I mean, not the pre-sale part, but make money before you spend money. Nah, that's not how the
Mm-hmm.
business is built. Because, like he just told you,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
he didn't agree with that, right?
Yeah. It didn't feel right.
That's right. But now you're discovering, even with the book that you're releasing, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm like telling too much of the business, but right now he's on pre-release, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's going
Yep.
into past
Yeah,
pre-release
we're going
because it
into
has been
basic
validated and people
pre-order.
are buying.
Yep. We just finished the VIP pre-order period and now we're in the regular pre-order period and then the book will launch in about a month.
Yep. And I just opened up Monetize Your Life Academy to let me see if I can get people on, right? On to determine if that's what they want to do, right? I got a
Yep.
little landing page. I got a little simple Google form. You have to explain to me why this will be important to you, all these kind of things. If nobody comes to it, guess what? I don't launch it. And this has been one of these things that's been in my heart for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
right? This academy. But people may go, you
Mm-hmm.
know what, I'll go over to here or whatever. They don't see the
Mm-hmm.
value. That's fine. Then I don't spin it up. But if I
Yep.
get some people on there, then that tells me that the idea may be validated.
There
Same
you
with
go.
you. It is cash flowable. It is cash
Mm-hmm.
cowable. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because they told you with their dollars
Yep.
that they're in. And that's all I want
Yep.
to leave you with. Let's do that.
There we go.
All right. We'll talk to you on the next video, y'all.